Hey, it's the gayest hangout on the internet. Well, not actually. It's Magnus Hangouts, the least safe space on the internet. And joining me today, we have the illustrious Doc 11. Hey, Doc.
Hey.
We have the set of Christmas pasties over there with Shi-Nu.
Hey, what's up?
Legend has it, he's gayer than Liberace's house kid. It's JWG.
Hi everyone, how's it going?
We got new trans in the hangout. We've got Frozen Binary Studios.
Hello.
And as always, we've got the trans woman with a MGTOW perspective. It's Crossing Ways.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight?
Okay, so tonight it's homosexuality, transsexuality, and misandry. And the reason I'm doing this hangout is because whether you believe it or not, whether you want to hear what they have to say or not, these guys know misandry on a level that most straight guys won't understand. Just because we're not that way. So I'm going to let you guys have at it, and I'm just going to toss the occasional question in. So who wants to start? Crickets.
Very enthusiastic crowd, I see.
Yeah. It's
Been a long
9
day,
a.m. in the
sorry.
morning over here. I'm still up
Like,
from
well,
my hangout.
It's like that dance scene from Revenge of the Nerds where everybody was standing up against the wall. Nobody wanted to dance.
Yeah. Like, who
Jay,
wants to start dancing?
Jay, why don't you start us off?
Well, I'd start by saying that, there is, of course, there are different kinds of misandry. Misandry is the hatred of men, of what they do, the way they do it. It's not just hating straight men or white men or black men. There are different kinds of hatred. There are different kinds of discrimination or I don't know how to put it, intolerance. It's wrong to say that it's just gay men or trans men, because I think that we can say today that there is also, it's starting slowly, also some sort of discrimination and intolerance against straight men, because now they're the new scapegoats, all right? So back in the past, maybe black people were used as scapegoats, then Jewish people were used as scapegoats, then, I don't know, homosexuals and so on. And now I think the feminists are using straight men as scapegoats. But that doesn't mean that those who aren't straight are not targeted because of their men with different sexual orientations.
Well, I mean, I think the way it looks to me is like, once I started kind of seeing what misandry was all about, I could kind of see that there are different levels. Like, at least with straight men, we're quote unquote useful in some way, but
Yeah.
that's only because they can kind of control us sexually. And if you wanted
But
to create
that's-
sort of, I guess you could say, a stack on that, their order would be, I guess, cis straight men, heterosexual trans women, gay men, and then gay trans men or women.
Which
I would
is
think that would
which
be
is
the
very
levels.
misandric. I agree with what you said, but what you said is also very misandric, because you said straight men don't suffer as much discrimination as long as they're useful. So basically, we go back to the idea that men have
Right.
to function as a utility, and
Right.
if they fail to function as a utility, they're hated.
Because
That's the problem I have about it,
Yeah.
is that most of the problem that trans women have and trans men have and gay men have is that you're not manly enough to be a man, but you're not womanly enough to be a woman, and you're not useful to the women
Exactly.
because you're
Yeah.
gay, and you're not useful to the men because you're not womanly enough or manly enough, and so
Exactly.
you're basically like an outcast.
well, it
Yeah.
wasn't even acceptable to even be a bachelor, believe it or not, in society. I mean, you have to function as some type of utility and bring up a family and support
Yeah.
that.
Being a bachelor and having things catered to you is a fairly recent idea, as far as I could find.
Hmm.
Well, and that's only because we can get away with it because feminism started that. Well, feminism started that I'm a strong, independent woman that don't need no man, so guys could get away with, oh, does that mean we don't have to deal with you now?
But I think that also the gay movement helped with that as well, because then you'd have to accept if these gay men don't want to serve as a utility and want to, date other men and not have to be married to a woman or have marriage limited to just between a man and a woman, then by consequence you would have to accept a bachelor's lifestyle or bachelor's as well.
Well, and plus, most most men don't really understand the trans thing, and and I think the reason why a lot of men have so much trouble accepting homosexuals and not really giving a shit what they do with their own pecker is the fact that what's one of the quickest insults a woman jumps to if you tell her no, you don't want to date her or have sex with us. What are you, gay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's I've been looking into what was it like the Caribbean culture and shit, and it's actually like really pervasive over there. Like the men are you always see like these black dudes with like really fat women, right? Some of them and some of these dudes are pretty good looking, right? Not all of them, obviously, but from what I've been talking to about Caribbean people is that that actually goes back quite a long ways, where basically women knew that if they approached a man and they called him gay, that basically it's illegal to be gay there or anything of the sort. So if they approached a guy and they basically said, oh well, if you don't find me attractive, you're gay, then that will have serious fucking social consequences for that man. So he has to accept any kind of women's interest. So they end up with like these undesirable females just because they don't want to be executed.
And the irony, or I would say the paradox, is that the whole thing has actually boosted. It has increased hypermasculinity, because many decades ago, perhaps in the early 1900s, there was much more homo affection. Straight men were very tolerant of homo affection. They would hug other men, they would kiss other men, they would be closer. But then it started, this whole thing goes, are you gay, or this insinuation. I think it scares a lot of men to the point that they don't want to be associated in any possible way. So they try to avoid at all costs any kind of, even the smallest suspicion, right? So they try to avoid anything that might expose them as gay, and that has very negative consequences.
Yeah, and like I said, I've never really been the type, straight as I am, I don't give a shit what other people do with their own body, their own pecker. It's like, you want to fuck another dude, fine, go for it. I'm not in your bedroom watching.
Well,
Not with that attitude,
I LOL to every time Magnus says pecker.
Pecker, tallywhacker, wing-wong, dingus, doo-whopper. I got them all.
Schlong dong, yeah.
Schlong dong penis pecker. But no, I mean, that's just it. It's like, what? God, what? Who really gives a shit? I mean, it's your body. So how does that affect me?
No, who gives a shit? No, I wouldn't say. Yeah, go on.
But I mean, I think that's where a lot of the misandry comes from. Is if you've got this unnatural give a shit about what somebody else does with themselves, then you are going to kind of be in a sort of a misandric state.
And yet,
you're
Magnus,
a faggot. You like to fuck other men. That ain't right.
Yeah, but and yet, Magnus, you said that who gives a shit. A lot of people give a shit. A lot of people are very hostile, and it's not just that you have religions who are very anti-homosexual and transsexual. You have even feminists. Feminists have been very, very hateful because they, in theory, they promote gay rights and they promote gays and transsexual. But actually, I can tell you that some feminists have been very hateful. They've been saying gay men are only gay men because they hate women. They have some sort of hatred towards women, and that's why they prefer men, because of the patriarchy. or they hated trans women, saying, "Oh, you're not a real woman. You're just mocking us, or I don't know, trying to look like us because
I've
you're jealous or
I've
something."
been
A lot of
accused
them
of.
say that too about the effeminate gay men. They say that you're basically mocking feminine
Yeah,
qualities by acting like that. They're saying that that's not. You're basically like it's not like you're making fun of how women are
but
by
even
being
even
feminine
lesbians,
gay.
even the lesbians who are kind of butch or dyke, and saying, "Oh, you're gender traitors," because you hate women so much that you want to be like men, even if you're a woman, you try to look like them.
Yeah,
Basically, who hasn't been targeted by feminists? You
God.
give me
Yeah.
one group of people who hasn't been shamed and mortified and trashed. All right, because they trash straight men because they expose straight men as rapists. They trash gay men, trans women, trans men, everybody. So a lot of people give a
Non-feminist
fuck.
women too. I mean, they throw anyone under the fucking bus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other women that are feminists as well. If you're not, they're feminists.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like the MGTOW monks. How they like to throw their own people under the fucking bus, just like a feminist.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like, well, we're in the game of life together. We should all have fun and just play the game. I mean, where is the real problem with that? But that seems to be everybody's point of contention, is they just want to cause friction and drama and problems, and that's how they live. That's what they get off
See,
on, it seems.
I was just mentioning this in the other stream I was just in. One of the things that really pisses me off is when feminists are like, "Oh well, if you're trans and or fucking gay or lesbian or whatever, then you owe us for that." And it's like, I don't owe you shit. Are you the one taking my fucking hormones for me, you cunt? No, get the fuck out of here. I don't owe you a goddamn thing.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yeah,
Yes,
women
I
always want.
hate that.
Women are like a bank that own a fucking house. They're always like, "You owe us." Like, what do I owe you for? Fuck you. I don't owe you shit. I don't even know you. They want you to pay them. They really feel entitled, that they have some entitlement to everything that a man does in his life.
Well, I can tell you this as a gay man. I can tell you that when I was much younger and I was going to a Roman Catholic school, this school was run by nuns and it was extremely religious. The one thing I've learned, because I grew up in a Catholic nation, is that Catholics, the Catholic Church would give this false idea that they're starting to open their minds and being more tolerant. But
Yes.
what they actually say is, okay, we kind of tolerate, say, the sinner, but we don't tolerate the sin. So you are allowed to be Christians and Catholics, but only if you renounce your sin and you don't have any sexual, you don't have sex with any other person of the same sex. So basically, they're saying, okay, we kind of tolerate you, but you need to shut the fuck up, and you have to passively obey. So I went from that to feminists who actually told me, yeah, okay, you're a gay man, and we kind of tolerate you and support you, and you support your rights, but you're still a white man, and you still have white privilege, and you have male privilege, so you kind of have to shut the fuck up and just be quiet and just listen to me. Then I come to this, MGTOW manosphere, and I hear MGTOW saying, okay, you're a man who is an anti-feminist, okay, we kind of tolerate you, but you need to shut the fuck up because you're still gay and you're not a straight man, so you're not affected by these laws which are basically targeting straight men. And I think, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Everybody's always trying to do that to people and not allow them just to live and do what they need to do to survive in life. And it's like, if you're trans or you're gay, it's very hard to find a group that actually is part of, like, wants you part of it. Even the LGBT, I'm always talking about the LGBT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're only using trans people now because it's in the know,
Yeah.
and they want to they want to put their laws through and they want to get things passed in Congress, and trans is a big thing now, so they're bringing it to the forefront and using them to put in legislation, but most of the legislation they put in doesn't even have any stipulations towards trans people.
Right.
And it only will if you step up and say, like, hey, what about us? What about this and what about that? And they'll go, oh, okay, we'll put something in there about you. But mostly it's all about gays and lesbians, and they don't really give a shit about trans.
But in the end, it's not even about gays and lesbians, because in the what I can tell you, that in the end, that's the facade. But in the end, to me, I think that it's just about women. That's my idea.
Yeah.
They use either trans or gays or lesbians, but in the end, it's about women.
Well,
It will be about women.
the most hardcore feminists that I've seen are usually either bi or the gay.
Oh.
And they're the most hardcore.
I would say that the most radical lesbians, most radical feminists are lesbians. The lesbian separatists are incredibly feminist.
That's
no
what
one,
I mean.
no one would dislike men as much as lesbian separatists, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Most of the laws that are brought about or brought to Congress by by LGBT movements have to do with gay. When it has to do with gay rights, it usually has to do with women first, which is why I always look as a psychologist. I always look at the way things are worded, and the way things are done to show the true meaning behind it. And you can tell by the LGBT thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why lesbians thought they needed to be first.
Oh, because they were saying that gay men are still, they still enjoy male privilege. You still have a dick, therefore you still kind of favored by the patriarchy, which is bullshit, by the way.
Because gay males suffer the harshest punishments in society.
The word gay
ever
means women and men. It's gay is like an all-inclusive. Gay doesn't just
you don't have lesbian men and lesbian women.
Lesbian before gay. First of all, the lesbian group isn't as big as the gay group, because the gay it kind of is all-inclusive. So if anything, it should have been gay, bisexual, lesbian, trans. But they wanted the L
That's
first.
misogyny. That's misogyny.
More important.
How dare you put men before women? That's misogyny.
Well, that's the thing. It's not before. The gay is all-inclusive. So gay is women and men. And because that's a bigger group than just lesbians, then it should be...
Shi-Nu, they're full of shit, and you know that. They're full of shit.
Well,
they look at the name and they say, why gay first? It should be lesbian, because we should give priority to women who are underprivileged. And then you have lesbians who say, I am a gay woman. And I say, okay, so why did you make all this fucking bullshit about having lesbian before than gay? Oh, because they're full of crap. It's just double standards all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the question that I had. Now that I'm done scratching my male privilege, the question that I have is this. I mean, for all the guys out there in the manosphere that may hear this, the question is, the laws affect us, straight, cis, het, whatever. But what makes you think they're going to stop with us? Sooner or later, we're all going to be paddling that boat.
They don't care. They just think, whatever. They think of whatever little misandry crap that they want to think of. They're just homophobic, and it's just disgusts them that a man wants to lay with another man and actually love and appreciate a man for what he is, rather than just what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just the thing. It's like, women only really want us for what we can do for them, protect and provide. They've already wanted to, take away the benefits and the rewards of being a father and a husband, and they're not going to stop with us.
Fuck no.
Gay men provide no fucking no utility or service to them. Okay, fine, fuck them. We'll screw them over too.
Well, that's not absolutely true. It's weird because they have like fag hags who use gay men fucking and just for like they would their girlfriends.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's the alternative utility, right? Because a gay man is not a provider, but he's some sort of quote shopping assistant, right?
Yeah, yeah. He still can be a provider, but just not for like like it's more superficial than it is with, say, a partner, or not even a
the idea is that my straight husband is going to work for me, he's going to provide for me, he's going to give me his money, and when he comes home, he's going to fuck me. But my gay friend, he's going to, show me the best clothes and the best shoes and the best, that's what a lot. I have a friend here, a female friend, who was doing that with me, and it pissed me off. Because basically she had this sort of stereotypical idea that a gay man was just there to help women, and a lot of women do that. A lot of women just expect that if you're a gay guy, you exist there to help her, to show her the best shoes. I don't give a fuck about shoes. I don't even understand clothes. It's like this is this stereotype of a gay man who knows everything about fashion. I don't give a fuck about fashion. All right, so
Jay, from what I've seen of women who hang around with gay men, they treat them sort of like a male girlfriend, where he'll listen
like a
to
personal
all my
assistant.
problems. I can talk to him about anything, and then it's like, and the best part is he doesn't expect me to fuck him.
Well,
check this out. I was at a gay bar once. It was like this past year. And I walk in and I see, a lot of gay men, and then a lot of the straight women were dancing with like the gay men, and they were having drinks bought for them, and all the gay men, they're in shape, they look good, and all these women, they're either really fat or just like hit the wall, and they're just old and fucked up. And they can't get a straight guy to do that for them, so all these in shape gay men are buying them drinks and dancing with them and showing them a good night and all this bullshit. And I was just sitting there, I'm just laughing my ass off to myself.
I've seen it. I've fucking seen it. I've almost been there. It's like when I went.
In a way, what these women are wanting is to have these in-shape men provide them with the illusion that they're attractive, even though these guys are gay and aren't attracted to them anyway. They want
the logical fallacy.
They want that illusion.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was hilarious.
See, one of the things I've had problem with is when either people find out I'm trans, or beforehand when I dated guys, girls would like freak out, like, "Oh my god, we could be so great friends." I'm like, "Oh my god, get the fuck out of my face!" It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm like,
God, I don't want anything to do with you. Leave me fuck alone.
Yeah, I'm like, because when I came out, most people were shocked because I was apparently very straight acting and I never let on. And they're like, "Holy fuck, really?" They'd meet my partners like, "Wait, you're dating a dude?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm bi. What the fuck? I don't care. I can date whoever the fuck I want. What's wrong with that?" And really no problems. But when people find out who are strangers and they're into that shit where they want to just use people, they just like latch on you immediately. It's like, "No, get the fuck away." I'm perfectly content.
however, in all fairness, I have to say this, in all fairness, there are some gay men who are very effeminate, and they're very sort of in the feminine world, right? So they want to
not
have
everyone.
female. No, I'm not trying to say that.
I'm just saying as a point, it's just not everyone though.
No, I wasn't saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying.
I wasn't accusing you of saying that. I was just saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that there are some gay men who are very effeminate.
Yeah.
They want female friends, and they want to treat them like their own personal Barbie dolls. So, when people ask me, I keep telling them that there is some sort of a twisted mutual exploitation.
Yes.
You have a very effeminate gay guy, and you have a very toxic female woman who are basically both parasites of each other. All right.
It's like it's like a symbiotic parasitic
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah, exactly. You used the right word. It's some sort of symbiosis. So you have some very frustrated, effeminate gay guys who weren't girls when they were teenagers. They couldn't, wear makeup, grow long hair, do, I don't know, some sort of stuff because their family were very, very intolerant. So they kind of project onto their girlfriends their frustration, their dreams that didn't come true. And you see that a lot of these extremely effeminate gay guys who start to work in the fashion industry, and they become makeup artists, and they're always there taking care of women's looks, giving women advice. So there is this sort of thing. And I've noticed that in feminism, you have a lot of that. You know, you have women and you extremely feminine gay guys, some of them, not all of them, who are mutually exploiting one another, and especially exploiting each other's victim status. You know, it's like united, we will be even more victims. All right, so we're going to boost our victimhood. We're going to be the super victims of the world.
It's like I scratched your victimhood, you scratch mine.
Yeah, and that's not helping. I think it's not helping gay men. It's not helping anyone. It's not helping straight men. It's not helping. It's not telling the real truth. Not telling the real story. Because some people would see some sort of real friendship there. I don't see some real friendship. I think that some gay men are exploiting feminism because they're using feminism as a shield, and women are using gay rights in feminism also as a shield, you know, trying to give the idea that they're the good ones who are trying to help others. But they're doing that out of a selfish interest.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes much sense to you guys, but this is the way I've seen it for, well...
I agree with the shield part, you know. I definitely do. Because as soon as you said it, I was like, yep. Because you do. That's why a lot of queer groups had leaned more towards feminism, because they felt like they needed those kinds of protections, you know, which they didn't stop to think that it was Misandry that what they were facing. But whatever the reason is, they wanted that bullshit to kind of come to a stop. So feminism was a social movement.
Oh yeah.
It's a bullshit social movement, but it is a social movement.
It is.
Nonetheless.
They
And
are full of shit, but it is a social movement.
Yes, absolutely.
So when Captain Nemo he shared and he uploaded that video where, you know, Barbara Kay, she was talking to a journalist about feminism and the gay rights movement, and she basically said, you know, it is fair to say that feminism was extremely successful, and it was the only very successful movement that was completely bloodless, you know, with a fight without killing people. They want everyone's attention without actually going there and killing people, unless, you know, unlike other fascist movements. But she was saying the only reason why gays and lesbians, you know, the gay movement became so powerful, it's because it was backed by feminism, and without feminism. Now, I don't know if I would agree entirely with that.
I don't agree entirely with that either, because I don't know about in Europe and the United States. I mean, things are kind of popping off over here in the very early 70s with Stonewall and all of that. And so I don't know if I completely agree with that. I mean, I think that all kind of happened around the same time, and all that kind of happened for a reason, because there are certain things that triggered off those events. So I think that, you know, there's a little bit of a what the fuck do it?
And yet, you know what? In Russia, there is massive homophobia. Homophobia, you have no idea. And feminism there is not as powerful as in the UK or in America or in Canada. Feminism is not very, you know, relevant in Russia. And I think that there is some truth, because if you think about it, when women start to defend gays and lesbians, you know, gay rights movement, you know, then it's very difficult to. It's like gays and lesbians are hiding behind, say, the woman's skirt. All right. So the brute, evil straight man, or at least this is what they're trying to promote. This idea that straight men are these evil monsters who want to kill everybody. You know, this caricature, this ridiculous caricature of an evil straight man, he wouldn't hit the woman. He wouldn't harm the woman who is defending them. If you understand the psychology behind this.
Right, yeah.
It's all fucked up. It's all completely fucked up, because it's mostly based upon lies. Lies. You know, this ridiculous caricature of evil straight men, I don't agree at all, because I know a lot of straight men who are wonderful people. So that's already a generalization. But according to their ridiculous caricature, you know, straight men, they hit women. No, because it's mostly a taboo to hit women. In many, many countries, it's the opposite. It's not a taboo to hit men. You can hit men, and you just get away with it. but you can't hit a woman because if you do, the whole society will lynch you, will literally lynch you. So that's where I see the sort of mutual parasitism, where I see gays and lesbians and feminists helping one another and exploiting each other. So I think that the gay movement thought, well, you know what? If women and feminist women defend us, who is going to attack us? Because to attack us, they will have to attack women, and that's a hell of a taboo. And feminist women want to send the idea that they're the good ones who are protecting minorities and people who are discriminated against. If you can see the completely fucked up thing, you know.
Yeah. No, you bring up some really good points there, because a lot of people. I mean, what's one of the first thing that they say? I mean, at least when I started making videos, oh well, you're a part of it. You're a part of the feminist, gynocentric, blah blah blah, whatever. And I'd be like, oh, where the fuck is this shit coming from? But at the same time, I knew what they were talking about. They just hadn't heard me out, but.
Yeah.
So you make some very good points there, Jay.
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of shit in my life, so maybe that's the reason. You know?
Yeah, well, sometimes
I've seen a lot of crap.
and these ideas come up.
Yeah. Well, it was a long time ago in the late 1990s when I had a lot of feminist friends in South Italy, and I started to see how incredibly fucked up they were. All right, they were just imagine I was in my mid-20s. I was very young. I would say even naive or perhaps even ignorant. There were many things that I didn't have a clue about these things.
Right.
And I had a lot of, I was going to university and I was studying their languages and I had many feminist friends. And a lot of them were gays and lesbians, right? I started to notice that, the feminist friends that I had were basically the exact same people that I had as friends in the gay and lesbian sort of organizations. There was a sort of mix, and I was hanging out with them, and I can tell you that they were nice to me. They were good. They were helping me. Sometimes I'm not ashamed of saying it. I'm telling you the truth.
Right.
I was completely broke. I had no fucking money. It's not like today. I was just completely broke. And a lot of these feminists, especially feminist women, and a lot of them were lesbians, they were helping me. They were giving me money. They were coming to my home and give me shopping. Can you believe that? And they were basically, I didn't realize at that moment, they were trying to buy my, how can I say? I wanted me to, but yeah, that's exactly the point. And I was basically, unaware perhaps, I was basically puppy following them and all their beliefs. And they were just telling all the time, straight men are evil, they're wife beaters, they rape women, they're molesters, they're sexual predators, and they were telling me all the things. The problem is that maybe they had this idea that I was the stereotypical gay guy who was feminine and didn't have any straight friends. But no, I have a lot of straight male friends, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And since I have a lot of friends who are straight men, I knew exactly that a lot of straight men were basically wonderful people. And I was thinking, what you're telling me doesn't match my experience in my friendship that I have with many straight men.
Right.
And what's that?
I was going to say, one of the things I was told when I started talking about transition by women, not just feminist women, but just women in general, is that they would trans would never be accepted by like straight men ever.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not true. It is. I just kind of thought it's a defense mechanism for them. They've got to fucking plant the idea that somehow trans are inferior.
Yeah.
Well, just like with gay men. Just like with gay men, a lot of straight men actually are attracted to trans women and gay men. You know, there's a lot of like straight men that go ahead and try out being with a gay guy just to kind of see. So they get, it's kind of like a defense mechanism. They try to say like straight men will never want anything to do with you. And it's just because maybe they actually have, their boyfriend has actually said, there's this trans guy that I think is really cute, you know, and that kind of like scares them. They think like maybe my boyfriend or my husband is going to leave me for a trans woman.
They should be scared, because that's what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. He should be scared. He
Well,
should be
no,
scared.
I think what the biggest problem and the reason why it's so easy for feminists to, kind of fool the gay and trans community onto their side is when you start hitting that point where your sexuality's blooming and you're finding yourself attracted to something other than what's considered societally normal,
Oh,
then you're already kind of confused and worried in a way, and then they just add to that. Oh, well, straight white men are going to hate you and they're going to oppress you and they're going to treat you like shit and blah blah blah, and then you're just like, well, whoa, what the fuck? Because that's just adding to where you're already kind of a little bit panicked and confused because you're not what you're not in that category of what is societally normal. But honestly, I don't think anybody is normal. I mean, hell, I'm the weirdest fucker on YouTube, to be honest. 'Cause, I'm actually one of those people who has truly learned to not give a fuck about anything that doesn't affect me directly.
oh.
So that just makes me weird anyway. I mean, I'm still straight, I'm still heterosexual and all that, but I mean, I've got more patience than most people. I'll actually sit down and listen to opinions I don't agree with just to know what's been said. I'm not going to just dismiss it out of hand because it's like, well, if I don't know what they're saying, how do I know how to argue against it?
Well, do you think that comes from experience, or do you think that comes from people teaching it to you?
I think it's a little bit of both in my case.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I've had a lot of life experience with the fuck weirds of the world, and I don't mean just gay and trans. I mean all the fuck weirds, like people who worship pagan religions and all kinds of odd stuff. So, I mean, I'm just well-traveled and well-versed,
Sure.
and it's like, and that's where I kind of learned that, well,
Yeah,
even if you don't agree with what's being said, you have to listen or you're not going to know how to counter it, or, and if you're too afraid to admit that you could be wrong on something, then you're never going to learn anything.
Yeah, interesting that you say that. It's important to listen because now we're living in a very strange age where people don't want to listen, and social justice warriors and gender ideologues and feminists, there are people who are basically I've just watched just today, a few videos uploaded by some people who were basically criticizing this sort of weird attitude that is just emerging now, where basically in Europe and America people are starting to reject freedom of speech because freedom of speech is now somehow hurtful. It's somehow offensive and insulting. All right. So
there's a lot of arguments against free speech, and they're all retarded. One of them is like, well, it was white men who wrote freedom of speech, therefore it's oppressive inherently.
Sure. Yeah. And yet we all enjoy the best. We all enjoy the best rights in sort of quote white patriarchies, right? Because as a gay man, I enjoy here in Central Europe gay rights that I would never ever enjoy in any other part of the world. Right? If I went to South America or Africa or the Middle East or Asia, there is no way that I could get married or I don't know could live a normal life. All right. So in other countries, I would be seen as a monster. And they keep saying white straight male. Isn't it ironic that I'm enjoying the best quality of life precisely in countries that they would consider to be countries ruled by white straight patriarchal men? Isn't it kind of ironic?
Yeah, the thing they never understand is that the patriarchy has always never affected anybody but rich people. If you don't have money, you're never going to be part of the patriarchy. The regular, normal schmo guy going to work every day isn't part of the patriarchy, because if he was, he wouldn't have to work.
Or he wouldn't have to work that damn hard, really.
Yeah. That they seem to think that just because you're a man and you have a dick, that means you're obviously part of the patriarchy. And it's like, tell that to the guy down the street that's working at McDonald's,
Yeah, let me grab a shovel and jump down into this hole and shovel shit for like $5 an hour and enjoy my patriarchal privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or drive
You know?
a truck in the snow, in the blizzard.
But that's
Yeah.
all projection, you know, that's just projection. I think that the ones who are the most privileged are the ones who are accusing others of being privileged. And I think that if you look at history, I can't think of anyone as privileged as white, straight, heterosexual, cisgendered women
Yes.
living in the 1950s
Yes.
in America.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
They were living in
absolutely.
the richest and most powerful democracy in the world where they didn't have to build shit. I
No.
mean, if that is not hell of a super privilege, you tell me. Basically, their men were working for them, for their women. You know, they weren't as oppressed as black people. They didn't suffer homophobia like gays and lesbians. It's just amazing. So most of this is just all down to projection.
Yes.
Well,
Absolutely.
now you guys brought up free speech earlier, and I've seen a few response videos to this girl calls her videos Jaded Culture. Her name's Jade's what the fuck, I don't really care. She lives in Canada, and she's sitting there giving a case against free speech, and then
Oh.
turns around and talking about how men in her comments section are trying to silence her. And I'm like, wait, so you just spent fuck knows how many minutes telling me that free speech isn't a thing and doesn't matter, and it's just there to prop up my privilege, and then you turn around and say that you should have free speech. What the fuck? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, there's no self-awareness
I mean,
with these
that's
people.
Yeah, they never get it.
Exactly.
They never see it.
Well, she admitted to being a Marxist, so I was like, oh, so basically you're telling me right there you're a dumbass. Okay, never mind.
Sorry, triggered.
I mean, these people don't understand that the reason why these freedoms exist is so that, you know, as they call them, the marginalized people can be heard and say, hey, look, I face these problems because I like fucking frying pans, these pansexual people. And it's like, okay, you like dinking the cookware, okay, that's fine.
Well, freedom of speech gives you exchange of ideas, and people who don't want to have exchange of ideas are people who want to indoctrinate and control the way that people think.
Well, and they don't
That's how
realize
fascism works. That's how religions work.
Yes.
Freedom
They
of
want to
speech
control
kind of
your
works
thoughts.
well, they don't understand freedom of speech works in two directions. They may be free to say whatever they want to, but I'm also free to say, look, I don't want to hear this, go fuck yourself and walk away.
I really
Oh,
hate
no,
this.
they do understand it. They
No,
do
they
understand.
do. Yeah, they do.
They do. They just understand the fact that they want to have the freedom to say what they think, and they just want you to shut the fuck up. That's their idea of freedom of speech. Their ideas are right, and your ideas are wrong. In fact, feminists on many occasions they said, we should ask the right questions. That is the most fucked up thing in the world. Can you imagine? Where you're telling people we should ask the right questions. So it's like there are some questions that are wrong. How can you? It's just completely fucked up.
See, I really hate this idea of everyone has the right to be offended. No, you have the right to be offended, but it's not like a human right like free speech. It's just a fucking inherent one. Just no one gives a shit. No, there's no right of giving a fuck about what you have to say. You have the right to say it. Just I can go ignore you.
Or, let's be offended, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about it so that we can find a solution. Like, for example, there was a MGTOW, ex-pal, who was calling me and Turtman, who was calling us faggot all the time. Oh, you're a fucking faggot, you're a fucking faggot. And that's the only thing. So I said to ex-pal, look, let's have a conversation. You keep calling us faggots. By the way, Turkman, he's a straight guy, but he was calling him a faggot because he's friends with me, right? So if you have a gay friend, you're a faggot. For some shit reason. So we were in this hangout, and he was saying, look, I can't stand these people who are always offended. And I was saying, the point is not about being offended. I'm just saying, you keep calling me a faggot, but you're not bringing anything rational to the discourse, or there is no real exchange of opinions here. It's just, I could call Sparky Fister a fucking nigger, and I could call a Skeptor a fucking Jew all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of a moron would just limit themselves to that? I mean, there is no exchange of anything. Just you're not talking. You're just repeating the same
You
word
don't need to
all
be
the
a
fucking
certain
time.
kind of a moron. You just gotta be a moron.
Yeah, that's the point. It's,
Well, yeah,
it's,
but there's
That's
like,
the only kind that qualifies.
well, yeah, but you got to take into account the flora and the genus and the genomes and all that. That's why you can't. That's why he said some kind of a moron.
Mm.
You know,
yeah.
what animal kingdom and family do they belong to? You've got to figure that part out. You got to
Uh-huh.
do it scientifically. But no, I mean, well, I mean, if I could easily hate gay people because I have been fucked over in my lifetime a lot by effeminate gay men, but
Mhm.
you know, there is that experience part that says, well, they're not all the effeminate gay types because I've met, you know, gay guys that look like fucking bodybuilders, football
Oh,
players,
oh.
fucking, you know, and you wouldn't listening to the effeminate gay guys talk, you can peg them. Ah, you're gay, aren't you? But
Oh.
you know, like the gay guys who, you know,
Don't
just
look.
look like normal dudes, you wouldn't know.
You would know exactly. And that's why a lot of people get the wrong idea, because if you see an effeminate gay guy in the street, you say, "Oh, that's a gay guy." But there are a lot of other guys that you would never tell, and they're also gay, but you just don't
Sure.
know. You don't know
Sure.
about them. And the interesting part is that the ones that feminists keep backing and supporting, the ones that you always see in medias, are always the feminine ones. They don't really want to promote the idea of a masculine gay guy, because I think that their problem is not with homosexuality or heterosexuality. Their problem is with masculinity. They
Yeah.
don't like masculinity. There is something inherently evil with masculinity. It's toxic, it's dangerous, it's harmful. We have to eliminate it. All right?
Mhm.
That's fucked up. That's not true. That's not the meaning of masculinity. Masculinity doesn't mean I'm going to destroy everything and everyone. I'm going to kill people. That's not the meaning.
No. What is it that I'm trying to look for that I'm trying to frickin' say? Masculinity is the one thing that can change things around, that innovates, that moves and shakes society, and that's what they're afraid of.
Afraid of, I'm not, I don't know, because the moment we put masculinity in that, on that level, and we say masculinity therefore is useful. Masculinity is useful to the society because masculinity is needed to build the human civilization. So the moment you understand that it's useful, you also want to be in control of it, and you want to give directions, and you want to say, if something is useful to you, you want to be in control of it. You don't want to lose it.
Right.
Well, my problem is once you actually start trying to cram masculinity into such a small box, that's when you lose all meaning of what it actually is.
Oh,
I mean, it's not meant to be. It's not really meant to be a tangible thing. I mean, there are certain qualities that you can quantify, I guess, but you know, at the same
They
time, you know, they cram it in such a small box that it's lost a lot of its true meaning.
Yeah, I think when you say something that's masculine, it's a broad generalization. Like
oh.
because there
Very
are women who
broad.
exhibit masculine traits, and as we've said, there are feminine guys.
Well,
There are
but I've
feminine straight
also
guys as
seen.
well, not just gay ones.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that's true.
I mean, I've seen enough women who, you know, came off as masculine, but they had like the right feminine swing to them that they still came across as very feminine, very female, and very womanly.
Sure.
You know, so that's what feminism aggravates me with in a lot of circumstances. Is they try to cram masculinity and femininity in this tiny box
Right, and it
so that they
doesn't
can
work
try
that
to
way.
break out of that box. Well, no, but they try to break out of that box with the whole fluid gender and all that bullshit. And it's like, no, if gender was already fluid within the binary, but because you assholes tried to cram it into such a small fucking box on both sides and push them
Oh,
so far apart, that now you want to break out of the box you created.
I feel so sorry for the fucking guys who have to put up with this crap. Who are like all all the fucking chicks who are they're like fucking blue hair and fucking basically they want to be androgynous, but they don't know how to fucking actually do androgynous properly, because it can be done well, and fucking you would never tell what the gender of who you're looking at. It's like, oh shit, you know.
Well, that was the kind of joke that they had on Saturday Night Live with that
Pat.
character, Pat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, Pat, what's your partner's name? Terry, and Terry's you could be male or female. So it's like, nobody could figure out if Pat was male or female.
Yeah.
It's that was kind of a brilliant sort of thing as far as I was concerned, just because it's like, well, okay. I mean, everybody knows Pat was played by a woman,
Mhm.
but in the story of that world, it was like Pat was so androgynous that, is it male? Is it female? Guy? Girl? What the fuck?
Every time we get close to knowing, she'd always do that yeah thing, where she'd smile and like touch herself. They'd be like, so what kind of people do you like? Do you like women or men or something like that? And then she'd just laugh and would never answer.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's the biggest thing about feminism is, in this case, as far as I'm concerned, is that they seem to enjoy creating problems that then they can later come along and pretend like they're going to solve those problems, and it's like, asshole, you're the one that did that in the first place. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's just to stay relevant, though. I believe they have nothing really fucking better to do now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You just say that because you hate your mother.
I'm going to see her for Christmas, man. Hey, Jackie. Make me a sandwich, Mom.
You're still living in your mother's basement.
Yeah. You have a neck beard. You know you're
like
you have a neck beard
because you're gay. Yeah, no, that's the reason why misandry is such a funny thing. It's like, feminists.
They're so retarded.
Well, yeah. You agree with a woman, you disagree with a woman, you're a misogynist. You give her a compliment, you're a misogynist. You don't give.
No, I usually make these jokes online. I say, if you look at a woman, you're giving her unwanted attention. And if you don't look at a woman, you are ignoring her. So a guy is like, what the fuck should I do? Should I look at her or should I look? I can't look at her because whatever you do, you screw up.
Right.
Well, you're just like, make up your fucking mind. Either you want the attention or you don't. That's like one of my favorite things when I don't know if you guys have ever been through this, but I've been through it a few times where, a woman's wearing such a low-cut top you can practically see everything, and then you're kind of looking, and she says, "Hey, buddy, my eyes are up here," and I said, "Yeah, but you're not putting your eyes on display for me to stare at now, are you?"
Yeah.
Yeah. They make you feel guilty for the fucking thing that they're obviously doing. It's like, come on, really, bro? I'm not fucking retarded. I know what you're doing.
Exactly. That when you make it plain that, look, I already know that you're sticking your tits out for the world to see because you want people looking.
My eyes are up here, but your tits are down there.
Beards.
I hate to inform you of this, lady, but I'm more interested in looking at boobs than eyes to start with.
Yeah.
There's this one chick. There's this one chick that was much taller than me, and she caught me staring at her tits. And she's like, my eyes are up here. I'm like, yeah, but I'm only so tall.
Breaking my neck to see your eyes? Your tits are just fine. Hello, tits.
Hi, how you doing? Do you talk back?
So, ladies, if you're really that interested in getting us to look at your eyes, tattoo a pair on your boobs and be done with it.
Yeah.
Just draw eyelashes on you.
No, I mean, That's actually kind of gross. But now we're gonna go ahead and start doing final thoughts. And guys, just as a heads up, I'm gonna Christmas Day, probably in the afternoon time area, probably about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm gonna do a hangout just so you guys got something to do. If you can't make it home for Christmas, or if you're just gonna spend Christmas alone, we'll give you something to listen to, somebody to talk to, maybe. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and do final thoughts. Doc, why don't you start us off? If you're there.
Oh, she's on mute.
Ah. All right, Shi-Nu, how about you?
Let's see. Well, from like what we were talking about earlier with the women thing, I think one thing that a lot of people fail to realize is whether you decide to be a MGTOW or trans or whatever, and you decide to not be with anybody, you're still going to have to eventually pay for women because you're paying into the retirement funds and you're paying into the government, and that's where they get all of their money. So even if a woman has a kid with some guy that ends up being a deadbeat dad, you're going to eventually end up having to take care of that woman because you're paying taxes and they're using that money for their welfare and all their bullshit that they do and their low-income housing that they live in and everything. So you're paying for that. So they're going to get you no matter what, you know. And that's where they don't really realize the real true patriarchy is that they have the advantage over everybody, you know. And it's sad to see that they don't see the privileges they have set up for themselves in life.
Well,
You know?
they are the very ones who sit there and tell us, "Oh, those with privilege are totally blind to it." Saying
Exactly.
that about men, they
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
realize that they're talking about themselves.
Exactly. If you point that stuff out to them, they just don't see how much privilege they have in their lives and how much you know, from the time that they're born until the time they die, how much privilege they have over a man. You know, that a man could never get away with 1/10 of what they can do in their lives, but with doing nothing. You know, only a woman can walk into a bar with like $5 and walk out drunk with a meal and a dick, you know, for the night. You know, a man can't do that, and even Brad Pitt probably couldn't walk into a bar with no money and get girls to buy him drinks. You know, they would still expect him to buy them drinks. You know, so I mean, women are the only ones. It doesn't even matter if you're pretty. You could be some big fat ugly bitch, and you could still get into a bar and find some guy to fuck you and take you home and buy you drinks. You know, and it's just they don't realize that kind of privilege, the amount of privilege that they really have. And I think as trans and gay, we kind of get a little bit of a look behind Oz's curtain, you know, and we get to see, especially as a trans woman, you get to kind of sit down with women and listen to them talk. And me and Frozen was talking earlier today about the way these women talk to each other. They have this underhanded way of speaking to each other where they like to cut each other like a knife with their wording. And a lot of trans women are like this as well, especially if they call themselves feminists. But they can have these really underhanded comments where they cut you down, and it actually makes you want to like go into the bathroom and cry because they can like really cut you that deep with just some snarky little comment that they'll use. And they practice this stuff, and that's why a lot of the trans women are going to be great for men, because most of us had to grow up in a man's body, and we never learned that stuff because they learn that shit in school. So as they get older, they won't, you know, when a trans woman is you know in her 20s and decides to transition, they don't get that kind of shit, and they kind of find that offensive unless they consider themselves a feminist, which means you wouldn't want to have anything to do with them anyways, you know. So if they kind of don't have that sense about them, I think it makes them much more attractive, which is why it's such a problem for feminists and for women in general that trans women are so beautiful, you know, because it's actually going to be in direct competition with them.
There you go. All right, Jay, you want to go ahead and say your final piece?
Oh, well, I just have to agree practically entirely with Shi-Nu because in the end what he said is just spot on. And in the end, it doesn't matter if you're a white man or a black man, you're a gay man, trans man, straight man, bi man. That doesn't make difference because in the end you will always have to put up with a very gynocentric society. So in the end, sooner or later you will have to you will see, and like he said, you will see that most things are there for women. So if you're not 100% a woman, you were not born a woman, you're not a woman, things will sooner or later will start to get bitter. And I've seen that. Magnus, probably you've seen that in your life as a straight man. I think Shi-Nu and Crossing have seen that as trans women. But yes, I couldn't agree more. And to be honest, I don't have much else to add. What I can say is that gynocentrism has obviously extremely negative consequences for many men of different backgrounds. But in the end, misandry has very different. There are different types of misandry. In the end, you can be a straight man, you can be a black man, a gay man, a trans man, or a straight man. But sooner or later, you will have to face this.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. All right, Frozen. What about you?
Oh, I'm just thinking about the competition with women, and I'm gonna fucking absolutely crush them. I wish you luck, bitches, but I'm prettier than you, I'm smarter than you, and I can suck a dick better than you. Have at it.
Yep. Yeah. Have at it. Yeah.
Okay, let's take notes. All right, let's take notes.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted, right?
There's your warning, ladies. You better get on it, because Frozen Binary can suck a dick better.
I know.
Commentary
I know
on
it,
state
boy.
of female affairs.
For a fact, I know it. I put it to the test.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Crossing. What about you?
Yeah, Crossing can you suck dick.
Frozen has me beat too. Unfortunately, though, I'm not gonna get my game up. I'm gonna leave that to you guys.
She can eat a pink taco though.
Yeah.
Hey, I see.
Yeah, that's right. If I ever need to buy a favor.
Yeah.
Anime Indian says what? Says shots fired. All right, Cross, you want to take us out?
Yeah. There are many different components to misandry as well. Jay was talking about how there's many different forms of misandry and how it's expressed, but it's also done in many different ways by different people, by both males and females. What fucks men up the most is, women will always be protected in some way, shape, or form by males. But males will always throw themselves under the bus for some stupid reason or another, for some stupid difference or whatever. At least, the reason why people sided with feminism and gynocentrism was because that was the only way to get some type of protection in society.
Yes.
It's not so much that I agreed with it, but it is what it is.
Oh.
It kind of sucks that nobody kind of really talks about the toxicity that males do to one another and how males host up women in society as well, because you wouldn't have this fucking problem if all males just didn't put up with the bullshit. When you go to when you look at what
I was going to say, MGTOW is kind of the start of that, because if you're not, actively doing relationships or, getting married, then you've already started that way.
Yeah. I mean, and it's about time that something like that had started up. It took a lot of males getting fucked up by the system in order for them to recognize, hey, maybe this isn't such a great idea. But in any event, I'm glad that at least people are taking notice to these type of things and are making the appropriate actions. But
well, the BBC has actually made a documentary on MGTOW. reggae
That,
type
that,
sort of
that
thing.
joke.
Very
Why are these
infamous.
men so angry?
Yeah.
Well, gee, I wonder why. You piss them off long enough. Oh, gee, I wonder why he's so mad.
But you see, even there, there's that guy, and he's throwing Big Time under the bus. And then who's coming out with the Red Pill documentary? Okay,
Well,
who's
and
who's the biggest? Look, the reason why, and people need to recognize this. The reason why people are siding with feminists is because Jay was right. It was a rebellion or whatever, or a movement that had very little casualties in it. And the people who are going to be listened to the most are going to be women. And you look at people like Karen Strawn, Diane Davison, they get the most amount of views and subscribers because people are going to listen to what a woman has to say.
well, and
Especially
that's
if
why
that makes you feel good.
well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep talking till more people listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's all there
that's
is to
awesome.
it.
That's an excellent
But
thing.
now, before I end this podcast, I'm going to take you guys out on a headline I actually found. And if you want to understand the true horror of misandry, I think this would be it. The headline reads, "A man saved me from drowning, but now I am suing him for rape because he touched me." The lady who wrote this is named Cassidy Boone, if any of you guys want to go look that up.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think
Is that a joke or is it real?
No, I think it's
No,
a
it's
joke.
real. No,
Jeez.
Yeah.
No,
there is a
I thought
real
it was a
one.
satire. No,
I'm. This is
I'm pretty
based
sure it
upon
was a joke.
No, it's based upon a real thing where basically a chick
Oh.
got saved while she was drowning, and she's suing the guy who fucking saved her because he's, he basically he basically saved her from drowning. It's like, oh, but he's a
Well,
man. He shouldn't be allowed
that's
to
what
do that.
happens when you save a woman from drowning. Next time you're gonna save Frozen Binary, and he's gonna suck your dick.
Yeah, right. Save me, bitches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
That's the
I'd
first
be
thing
very
you should
thankful.
ask. Like, are you trans? Are you a woman? And if they say no, I'm a woman, and if you ask them next, are you a feminist? And they be like, yeah. Like, sorry,
well,
drowned. Fuck you.
Like, what's
Yeah,
that? I can't swim.
Yeah.
Are you? I know. I'm gonna get like quote mind, and somebody's gonna use this for a sound bite. But guys, here's my advice: if you see a woman drown and say, "Are you a feminist?" and do what? Yes, I'm a feminist. Just put your foot on top of her head and leave it there.
Thing is, that also
And
applies
that-
to male feminists.
Well, yeah, there's that too. And with that, we're gonna end the podcast right here. Gentlemen, man up and move out. We'll see you next time.